Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Welcome to my morning musings. Hey, I hope you had an absolutely fantastic Thanksgiving. My wife and I had a very nice Thanksgiving. We didn't get to see our kids, unfortunately, due to some illness and some difficulties, but nonetheless, it was a really nice time of just a whole lot of doing nothing. And I can tell you, for us, that's quite unusual. Anyway, hope you had a great holiday. Hope you were able to spend the time with your family, to be thankful for them, to be thankful for all of the blessings that you have in your life, to reflect on all the blessings that our Father has shed on you. Well, I'm continuing to share with you my personal journey to the full preterist view of eschatology. I've shared with you that I was raised as a fifth-generation member of the amillennial way of thinking of the end times. So my present understanding certainly is not the way that I was raised. It's not my tradition. But you know, if we're going to be Bereans, if we're going to have open minds, and if there's anything that the Bible calls on us to do and to be and to have, it's an humble and a contrite heart before the Lord and before His Word. So if we're going to be that way, we have to be willing to be wrong, as my good friend John Anderson used to say. If we're not willing to change, then we're really nothing more or nothing less than the Pharisees, whose personal traditions, whose personal past kept them from seeing what was right there in front of them. Well, anyway, one of the themes that is so dominant throughout the book of Revelation, and throughout the New Testament, as a matter of fact, is the theme of the wedding. In Revelation chapter 19, I want to tell you, this just blew my mind when I began to see the perfect harmony and the perfect unity that flows from the Old Testament through the New, right through Revelation in regard to the wedding. Now, point number one, I began to see from the book of Hosea that God had divorced Israel. She had broken Torah, she had broken the marriage covenant, so God divorced Israel. He said that in the last days, Hosea 2:19 and following, I will betroth you to me again in righteousness. God said that in the last days, He would remarry Israel. Well, you know what? Jesus came, and John said He was the bridegroom. Jesus came, and He told all these parables about the great feast. Well, that's a wedding feast. That's when the Jews had their feasts. Personally sponsored, if you please, feast. And in Revelation, guess what we find? The destruction of Babylon. And at the destruction of Babylon, Revelation 19, verse 7, let us rejoice and be glad, for the time of the wedding has come. So here we find in Revelation this theme that's started in the Old Testament, carried through even in Jesus' parables, and now in Revelation we find the wedding. Now, catch this, okay? You got to catch the power of this. In Matthew chapter 22, Jesus said, a great king made a great wedding feast for his son. And he sent out his servants to call those who had already been invited, that's the force of the Greek, and to say to them, all things are ready, come to the feast. But they begin to make excuses, and they begin to mistreat and to persecute the servants, and kill some of those servants sent to them. The king was angry, sent out his army, killed those wicked men, burnt their city. What do we find in Revelation? Revelation, we find this great city Babylon, to whom were sent the prophets. Babylon killed the prophets, killed the apostles and prophets of Jesus. She's destroyed, and the wedding take place. Now let me ask you, what was Jesus talking about in Matthew 22? Well, he's talking about Old Covenant Israel, Old Covenant Jerusalem, how God sent his prophets. Jesus sent his apostles and prophets to them, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The Jews rejected them, killed them, and Jerusalem was destroyed in AD 70. And yet we're supposed to think that there's a different city to whom God sent his apostles and prophets of Jesus, to whom God sent his prophets, and they killed them, and another wedding takes place. No. You know, folks, look, once we see the harmony in the marriage wedding theme, that it was a promise made to Old Covenant Israel that God in the last days would remarry her, make a new covenant with her. But first he had to divorce Judah, so that just as he had divorced Israel, make a new covenant with the entire house of Israel. See, it fits perfectly. But that means that Rome and the Roman Catholic Church is not Babylon. New York City is not Babylon. Literal Iraq or literal Babylon in Iraq is not Babylon. Only one city was to be destroyed so that a new city could become the bride, the heavenly Jerusalem. Well, there's a whole lot more that turned my head around, especially in regard to Revelation, and caused me to very seriously reconsider my traditional eschatology. But I want to tell you, the wedding thing, the wedding motif, is just one that just really, really turned my head around. I developed this concept really extensively in my book, Who Is This Babylon? It's available on both of my websites, www.eschatology.org or www.bibleprophecy.com. Now, I mentioned in an earlier segment, from now until Christmas, I'm offering 25% off. So go to my website, order Who Is This Babylon, go ahead and go through the process. It'll charge you the full price because I don't have a way to, enter that discount easily. But when you pay the full price, make sure you saw this offer on YouTube. I will refund you 25%. That offer is only good from now until Christmas 2011. Take advantage of it, okay? Study the wedding motif. I guarantee you, it will really, really challenge your traditional thinking. Hey, thanks for joining me on this morning's Morning Musings. We'll see you on the flip side.